Hello there, thank you for joining us on CoreTV News at this hour. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. The police has now given updates on the Friday attack on the College of Arts and Business Studies in Potiskum, the Yobe state capital. The police said 3 suspected suicide bombers entered the college at 8:15 a.m. One of the attackers blew himself up, leaving the other 2 taken to their heels. The police, however, apprehended and arrested them at different locations after coordinated pursuit. The police also say 6 people who were injured in the attack are now receiving treatment at the hospital. An AK-47 rifle and ammunition was recovered from the suspects. The Yobe State Commissioner of Police, Marcus Danladi, who spoke with CoreTV News earlier, said he is on ground in Potiskum coordinating security activities and response. The Nigerian Air Force is convinced that recent
08:00 at 08:30 hours, and I'm about to reach our place when I received a phone call from Potiskum that there is a suicide bomber that blew himself in College of Administrative and Business Studies, Potiskum. The suicide bombers were 3. The one that blew himself, killed himself and wounded 6 other students. The other 2 took to their heels. Immediately alerted all the security operatives, the police, and a vigilante JTF. All efforts should be on deck to make sure that the other 2 are arrested. And also we got 1 arrested. The other one even tried to escape through Nangere division, one of the divisions closer to Potiskum. Also the DPO who was on patrol with his men got that one arrested. All the 2 have been arrested that escaped.
Okay.
We recovered AK-47 rifle and 10 rounds of ammunition with 2 magazines with them.
Marcus Danladi, Yobe State Commissioner of Police. The Nigerian Air Force is convinced that area bombardment of Boko Haram's positions has substantially reduced the group's ability to carry out coordinated attacks in any part of the country. Chief of Air Staff Adeshola Mosu attributes this to the success of intelligence missions and the readiness of troops to end the insurgency after initial setbacks. He was speaking at the news conference to herald the 54th anniversary of the Nigerian Air Force in Abuja. Pius Samuel has more.
Nigerian troops have of late turned the tide on Boko Haram and are now taking the battle to the insurgents in their Sambisa forest base. This, according to the Air Force authorities, is because of well-coordinated air and ground assault on terrorist positions. The Chief of Air Staff insists that the offensive has crippled the insurgents and reduced their chances of carrying out any organized attack within the Nigerian territory.
If it is about Boko Haram, we have plans. We have already established some forward operation bases. To complement the maritime end, we have 1 FOB in Badagry. We have 1 in Mobi already established now. We are still going to construct additional in Mongonu and Bama. Why do we need these FOBs? It will help us to be able to position attack helicopters in those locations for effective border patrol. The maritime area is very vital. Most people don't pay attention there because those equipment they could be smuggling in to fight in the northeast, essentially they may come from the maritime area. So we need to see exactly what's going on there.
He attributed the success of the Air Force to support it has been receiving from some members of the international community. Amosun listed Pakistan, Ukraine and South Africa among countries that have helped in boosting the combat capacity of the Air Force.
When it comes to the partnership, we want to thank the nations of Pakistan, Ukraine, South Africa. We got huge expendables from them. That changed the entire situation in the Northeast. That was a huge support we got from them. We want to thank them, and we really appreciate the partnership.
After appreciating the partnership the Air Force has enjoyed from other countries, the Chief of Air Staff is not totally comfortable with the state of the Air Force. He reeled out the challenges facing the force, which requires urgent attention.
If we were able to get the argument going for the previous administration, if we respect their arguments, their call for more acquisition, we will not be where we are today. If you want to quickly go to the market and do the shopping at once, it's always difficult. They are not on the shelf. So my recommendation is that it must be progressive because we have competing demands for the scarce resources we have. And most of the manufacturers, they don't even expect you to make a one-time payment. It's going to be instrumental payments. A milestone can be established so that you can make these funds available.
The Nigerian Air Force has assured Nigerians that the ongoing offensive against Boko Haram in Sambisa Forest will be sustained and improved upon until the terrorists are wiped out from the Northeast region. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The House of Representatives has mandated its committees of Defense, Army and Human Rights to investigate the alleged role of soldiers in recent killings in some communities in Plateau State. The decision by the lower chamber was prompted by a motion by Ahmed Idris representing the affected area. In raising the motion, Idris claimed the gunmen dressed in what looked like the uniform of the Nigerian Army stormed a number of communities in Wase with over 40 trucks. The House committees, which are expected to liaise with the military and members of the affected communities, are to turn in a report within 2 weeks. The House also mandated the National Emergency Management Agency to mobilize its personnel and resources to the affected areas to conduct damage assessment as well as providing necessary relief materials to victims. The Supreme Court has stopped the National Assembly from taking steps to further amend the 1999 Constitution. The court wants the federal lawmakers to maintain status quo until June 18 when the matter comes up for hearing. The ruling was delivered on Thursday morning by a 7-man panel led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Mahmoud Mohammed. The Supreme Court also ordered that a notice of hearing be served on the principal leaders of the National Assembly to enable them respond to the suit filed by President Goodluck Jonathan. You recall that the Jonathan administration had on April 27 urged the Supreme Court to issue an order of interlocutory injunction against both chambers of the National Assembly. The government had urged the court to stop the lawmakers from overriding the president's veto after he refused to give his assent to the fourth alteration of the 1999 Constitution. Meanwhile, a Niger High Court sitting in Minna has issued an interim injunction restraining the Niger State House of Assembly from impeaching Governor Babangida Aliyu. Presiding Judge Justice Idris Avutu granted the request on the basis of an affidavit by the State Attorney General Abdullahi Wuse. The order followed a suit instituted by the governor against the newly installed Speaker of the House, Issa Kawu, the clerk, the Assembly, and 2 others. The court also fixed May 27 for hearing on the matter. The police have barred the newly sworn-in Speaker of the Niger State House of Assembly, Issa Kawu, from gaining access into the chambers to preside over legislative matters. The entrance to the assembly was barricaded by armed policemen who stopped the state legislators from entering the legislative complex. Basiaye, who's just back from being says tear gas was used by the police to disperse the lawmakers.
It was drama galore on Wednesday at the Niger State House of Assembly complex, a day after the erstwhile Speaker, Adamu Usman, was impeached. The new principal officers, led by Issa Kawu, the new Speaker, had turned up to assume office, but that was not to be. And the reason is not far-fetched. Security operatives had sealed off the premises and could be seen swarming the area. The state legislators were ready to stand their ground and demand entry. The new Speaker, however, insists that they should be allowed to perform their functions since they are not out to cause any mischief.
I think there was some kind of insinuation that maybe something sinister, something unfortunate may happen if the House sat. Well, whatever it would be. To the best of our knowledge, nobody has any plans of the removal of any public officer, particularly governor and deputy governor. We have never talked about it. It's not been debated. It's not on our agenda. But things can easily be misconstrued.
The newly elected legislators described the scenario as shameful, but maintained that change is inevitable.
What is happening at the assembly is not surprising. It's one of the things that we should expect. Always expect the unexpected, but when it comes, we know how to handle that.
The practice of today's government, I believe very well it is going to change, because it's very unfortunate that if a policeman will lock a legislator, refusing him to enter his complex is very unfortunate.
In the last couple of days, impeachment of elected government officials appears to have become a great trend. But while those involved are convinced that the actions are right, public commentators remain skeptical, especially coming at the tail end of their tenure. Basia Ye, CoreTV News, Niger.
The Supreme Court has set aside May 27 for judgment of the appeal filed by the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Iyolo Mishiri, against the victory of Osun State Governor Rauf Aregbesola in the August 9, 2014 governorship election. A 7-man panel of the Apex Court, led by Justice John Fabi, fixed the date for judgment after counsel to the parties argued their briefs. Counsel to Mishori, Alex Ezeyan, urged the Apex Court to set aside the concurrent judgments of the 2 lower courts, which upheld Aregbesola as rightful winner of the election. But the 3 respondents to the appeals, Governor Aregbesola, his party, the All Progressives Congress, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, wants the court to dismiss the appeals. Omishiri had filed the appeals against the decisions of the Justice Ghana Machel-led panel of the Court of Appeal in Akure, which on April 2, 2015 affirmed the earlier judgment of the Osun State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. The police authorities have put in place a special security arrangement for judges and courts through the Judges Protection Unit. This follows a directive from Acting Inspector General of Police Solomon Arese to all command police commissioners across the country. Police spokesman Emmanuel Ojukwu said in a statement that the Inspector General has ordered the commissioners to immediately set up the unit within their areas of responsibilities. This, he added, is in a bid to ensure that the judiciary has adequate security to carry out its duties. IGRSA also directed police commissioners to assign assistant commissioners of police in charge of training and development to ensure proper training and orientation for personnel constituting the unit. The Inspector General has meanwhile ordered a reduction in the number of police aides attached to civil commissioners nationwide. National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Adamu Mohazu, has dared Ekiti State Governor Ayefayose to release evidence of his alleged collaboration with the All Progressives Congress. Mohazu is not at present in the country through the challenge via his Twitter handle on Thursday. He, however, wondered if the evidence the Ekiti State Governor claimed to have would not be like the one he tabled to show that President-elect Muhammadu Buhari was in a London hospital at the time he went to deliver a lecture at the Chatham House. Less than 3 weeks to hand over, impeachment, sack and appointment seem to be the priority of the outgoing administration. Oluwaseyi Adegoke met with some Lagos-based legal practitioners in thousands, while this is so in this report.
The essence of impeachment is for checks and balances between the legislature and executives. The rate at which lawmakers recently serve impeachment notice or make the move is quite alarming and should be looked into.
There is a reason for inserting an impeachment clause in the Constitution. It's not something that you trivialize. At every slightest opportunity, you either want to remove the governor or you want to remove the deputy, and some of the reasons they give for removal is so bizarre. This abuse, of this impeachment provision must be looked into by the incoming government. We must insert, clauses that will ensure that they do not in any way trivialize it.
The latest in the impeachment saga is the Enugu case, where the lawmakers have successfully impeached the Speaker, Eugene Udo, and are making moves to impeach the State Governor, Sullivan Chime. Earlier, the former Inspector General of Police, Suleiman Abba, was sacked by President Jonathan on April 12, 2015, replacing him with Solomon Arasi a few weeks to hand over. According to this lawyer, fallout of the outgoing administration seems to be the cause of these frictions in some states and federal level.
So many of the things they possibly would have done earlier, they are now beginning to do at the 11th hour. And that is very unfortunate, because some of the actions of the outgoing government cannot be sustained. Some of those actions cannot be sustained. And the new administration will review some of those things. It's expected, because you cannot gag a man in his own activities. You cannot begin to put in people and ask the new man not to have a second look at such people that you put. Because what if the people are not competent enough to be in that position? Is he going to leave them? He will obviously review all those appointments that are coming very late in time, and then those that are competent enough to hold the appointment, he may be good enough to allow them to carry on.
With less than 3 weeks to hand over, Nigerians hope the new administration will be able to correct the anomalies both in the state and federal level for democracy to thrive in Nigeria. Oluwaseyi Adibuke, CoreTV News, Lagos.
We'll take a break now and we'll be back with more stars. Don't go away.
One continent, 54 countries, over 2,000 languages, but united with similar interests. As news breaks, we give you in-depth analysis around Africa every Monday on CoreTV News.
Welcome back. You can get all of our stories on any of our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter, Andy was at CoreTV News NG. We're streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/CoreTV for the space and news. The outgoing President Goodluck Jonathan is insisting that the legacies he's bequeathing to Nigerians would not be easily forgotten. He said this during the commissioning of 3 major projects of his administration in Abuja. The projects include the Umaru Yar'Adua Expressway, otherwise known as the Airport Road, the main terminal of Abuja Light Rail Project, and the Kubwa Expressway, all in Abuja. Helen Okwara Chukwunweke has more in this report presented from our studios.
It's about 3 weeks to the terminal date of the Jonathan administration, but the president is keen on ensuring the completion of many of his projects. The Airport Road expansion project is almost completed, while the Abuja Light Rail is at an advanced stage. President Jonathan is pleased with the quality of work and is sure that the project will have a big impact on the mass transit system.
These projects really have improved fees of Abuja tremendously. People come to Abuja full of praises. If you look at the interchange, really making Abuja a real modern city. We are quite pleased with the progress of work. We'll do our best to see that the commitments of government are met and done well. Congratulations.
And in assessing the projects, President Jonathan insists that they are legacies for posterity. He also expressed hope that the incoming government will uphold and sustain what he described as legacies of his administration.
This government, even on the 29th, the incoming government will definitely continue according to the noble project to benefit Nigerians as well as FCT.
For his part, FCT Minister Bala Mohammed noted that the completion of the 2 major highways has reduced travel time along 2 of Abuja's busiest routes.
With a robust financial plan that we bonded about 150 billion for the project, and that is why the timeline was very easy to comply with, and we have been able to take it to 98%. The only remaining portion that is not completed is the bridge behind the Aso Villa. Otherwise, everything has been delivered, and we are trying to look at the challenges of financing because we are owing the contractors about 10-15 billion on the 2 roads. Thank you, Excellency.
Completion of the 2 expressways have reached 98%. while work on the main rail terminus of the Abuja Light Rail project is put at 69%.
Meanwhile, President Goodluck Jonathan on Wednesday marked 5 years since he took over the mantle of the nation's leadership. It will be recalled that Jonathan was on May 6, 2010 inaugurated as the president by the then Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aloysius Katsina Alu. That followed the death on May 5, 2010 of the late President Umaru Yar'Adua, who was served for 3 years as vice president. The nation's constitution recommends that the vice president automatically takes over upon the death of the president. After completing Yar'Adua's tenure, Jonathan contested and won the 2011 presidential election, but lost his re-election bid in 2015. The president, however, marked the 5th anniversary of his presidency in a low key. As the day coincided with the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council, he only asked 2 ministers to pray according to the Christian and Islamic injunctions. That was a clear departure from the past, when the second stanza of the national anthem was always used as the opening prayers during the council meetings. The Minister of Power, Chinedu Nebo, and the Minister of State for Finance, Bashir Yuguda, took turns to render special prayers for the president, his family, and the nation. Jonathan took the council members by surprise when he arrived at the council chambers and announced that a member was celebrating his birthday. When members could not identify the celebrant, the president came to their aid, saying it was the anniversary of his presidency. They all clapped to the admiration of Jonathan. The main social cultural group in southeast Nigeria, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, wants President-elect Muhammadu Buhari to reserve the position of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation for the geopolitical zone. A delegation of the social political group made this appeal during a courtesy call on the president-elect in Abuja. The team, which was led by Ralph Obiora, also told the president-elect that election in the southeast was marked by irregularities. Responding, the incoming president pledged to look into the claims, but also urged the group to remain committed to a peaceful Nigeria.
You saw things for yourself. And needless reminding Your Excellency that Southeast is an emergency case. You drove through the badly neglected and impassable Enugu-Awka Expressway and the Enugu-Wahia-Port Harcourt Expressway, needless to mention the Okigwe Highway. Contrary to the election claims by the outgoing administration, no appreciable work is going on these roads. Information has shown that no financial arrangement has been firmed up for the second major bridge. The Okuta panel report has been gathering dust, and indeed will have pleaded for the revisitation of the so-called abandoned properties in Nigeria and its collateral reparation and restitution demand.
I believe if the constituencies in the south, south, and southeast were allowed to use the technology, just like the rest of the country, we would have even have no votes, as the separate would have been virtually perfect. But somehow, unfortunately, in the south and southeast, both the police and the military, no drop of violent civilians, were overwhelmed. Somehow the military had a running battle with Rochas, with Oshomale, with Amechi, and I hope that for record purposes, by denying Nigerians to vote for those they want to represent them, and for those they want to lead them as their governor and so on, we will correct what will subsequently come 2019 and beyond.
The dismissal of Abatunde Alokon, the permanent secretary to State Minister of Establishment, brings to 9 the number of permanent secretaries relieved of their duties since the inception of the Ayodele Fashe's 6-month-old administration. Citing various reasons for their sack, the governor also issued stern warning to civil servants in the state to abstain from politics, even as labor unions have been severally used by the government during the impeachment tussle. Rashid looks at the place of civil servants in Ekiti politics in this report.
At the May Day celebration in Ado-Ekiti, Governor Ayodele Fayose read the Riot Act to civil servants involved in partisan politics. But in retrospect, labor unions have severally been used to rally support for Governor Fayose as the impeachment saga in the state lingers.
This job is given to you by God to survive in trying times. Please stay away from politics. Please stay away from politics. It will interest you that some civil servants are ESCO members of political parties.
In 1999 to 2003, Niyi Adebayo governed this state. He had no problem. He finished his tenure. They did not allow Fayose to finish the tenure. There was problem. Segun Oni came. They did not allow Segun Oni to finish his tenure. Kayode Fayemi came to this state. He finished his tenure. There was no problem. Now, everybody voted massively for the governor in place.
Babatunde Aloko, who was until his sack the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Establishment, was allegedly relieved of his duty because former Governor Kayode Fayemi attended his father's burial. The allegation was, however, countered by the head of service, who claims the governor has right to retire Aloko.
What happened in the state was the retirement of one permanent secretary. The appointment of officers of that level is at the pleasure of the governor. In the same manner, the remover.
With 9 permanent secretaries lost to politics and scanty attendance at the Ekiti May Day celebrations, political pundits observe that politics is gradually defining the Ekiti State civil service. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado-Ekiti.
As his tenure winds down, Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has apologized to residents who felt the negative impact of policies of his administration. He stated this at an event marking his 2,900 days in office, disclosed that every policy of his government was tailored towards providing greater good to a greater number of residents. Abiola Oluwole has more on the story presented from our studios.
The 100-day account of stewardship is a tradition adopted by Governor Fashola to update residents about government policies, and marking the 2,900 days in office is in continuation of such tradition. Speaking on the stride of his administration in the last 100 days in office, Fashola says all decisions taken by his government were made to ensure good governance for residents.
To those that I may have offended, I apologize. On a daily basis, for 2,900 days, I made decisions in attending to hundreds, if not millions of files that I attended to daily. I took those decisions in the best interest of Lagos, based on the facts as presented to me. I could not have got all of them right. It was impossible.
Reacting to Apapa traffic gridlock caused by tanker drivers, Fashola blamed the inability of federal government to transport fuel through the rail system to avoid a recurrence of the traffic challenge.
I hope that we will be able to transport fuel properly over the next few years by rail. More importantly, I hope that we will stop the idea where the whole nation depends on only one source, or substantially only one source for fuel. What we have now in Apapa that is causing pain is that there are over 6,000 tankers in Apapa today trying to lift fuel to supply every part of Nigeria.
As Fashola prepares to pass on the baton to the incoming administration on 29th of May 2015, the expectation of residents, according to political watchers, is a state government that will continue to place premium on the spread of dividends of democracy.
Governor Jonah Jang of Plateau State has denied any involvement in the killing of citizens during clashes between militia groups and the military. Scores of people died amid reports Jang had deployed the military. The governor said it's a height of irresponsibility for anyone to emphasize that for political reasons a governor will connive with soldiers to kill his subjects. His executive assistant on media, Clinton Garba, said it was widely known that neither the men of the Special Task Force nor the police take orders from him. They're both controlled from Abuja by the Defense Headquarters and the Force Headquarters respectively. To insinuate that the Plateau State government has a hand in the matter is only a ploy to taint the image of the governor and the state government. End of quote. Meanwhile, the Special Task Force, the STF, keeping the peace in Plateau, says it has recovered 2 bodies out of the 3 missing soldiers at Kume, a border village between Taraba and Plateau. STF spokesman Iweha Ikedici said these to pressmen in an interview in Wase local government area where 500 were alleged to have been massacred by Nigerian army. It was reported that on April 28, a militia group allegedly killed 6 soldiers at Kume village and 3 others went missing. The continuous attacks by suspected militia group worsened as 9 soldiers were involved, which prompted the STF in a collaboration with the 3 Armored Division to locate and engage the group in a battle on Saturday. Minister of Interior Abba Moro has refuted claims of government involvement in the removal of names of some victims of the immigration recruitment stampede from the list of beneficiaries. The minister, who was speaking to journalists in Abuja, explained that necessary efforts had and are still being made to ensure that none of the affected persons is shortchanged. He thereafter stated that those protesting or making accusations are not justified. Following the execution of 4 Nigerians, among other foreign nationals in Indonesia over drug-related crimes, the Indonesian government has confirmed 8 more Nigerians are again on death row in Indonesia for the same crime. In Lagos, Patience Ajiboye brings reactions of some Nigerians on the Indonesian law and what the role of the federal government can play to reduce the involvement of Nigerians.
For Indonesian President Joko Widodo, who came into office in November 2014, the only way to curb drug trafficking is by execution. It was therefore a simple case of following the law when last week he ordered execution of drug convicts by firing squad, despite international pleas for clemency. And out of the 8 foreigners executed, Nigeria had the largest number of 4. And again, the Indonesian government has revealed that 8 Nigerians are still on death row for drug trafficking. Although the Nigerian government has asked for the bodies of those slain, some Nigerians think more can be done by the government rather than just sit and wait for the bodies to be sent back home, and that the penalty is too harsh. They should be allowed to come home and face the consequences of their actions instead of being killed there.
Owes Nigeria duty to give them all information as to what is happening in other countries, and whatever is happening in other countries should be a stringent measure that should be placed on their citizens, not to contravene their law, and to ensure things are put in place before traveling to all those countries. That's just it.
So it's uncalled for. Let Jonathan do something to this, because this is another thing entirely. So by 2 years now, they'll be bringing our people, killing them like chicken. So let us just try it, and our government, please and please, let's be effective over there, because they see us. We don't have quick response on everything that happens to us, and each day, each time, each year we keep remitting, and that gives us a lack of control.
It's not the right thing for somebody to do. But one thing again, we should think of God. We all sin every day, and God is so merciful; He does not treat us that way. And that is a sign that that kind of government, they don't actually know God in those kind of environment. You see, so what they need to do is to preach the word of God to such kind of people, and it may be better for them.
Legal practitioner and former chairman of Lagos chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Jide Ologun, says it is no point crying over spilled milk, as the executions show that there are still countries who adhere to the rule of law. However, while not saying crime is an option in an economy as Nigeria's, the government can curb cases of crime home and abroad.
We are not saying that we have the choices of going into crime, but then perhaps they wouldn't have, gone into that if there were other alternatives making ends meet, like we say.
While the convicts count their days, there are lessons to be learned by Nigeria's federal government and Nigerians generally, as they come to realize that a whole lot of mishap can be avoided when every party does the right thing. Patience Ajiboye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The Lingering fuel scarcity in the country as commercial drivers in Kwara State counting their losses as they allege the sales of adulterated fuel. Now, this is coming even as independent marketers lambast the remover of fuel subsidy. Our correspondent Rashid has more in this report.
The current fuel scarcity in the country has no doubt made its negative mark on the economy. From commuters to independent oil marketers and the government, no one seems to be smiling with the trend. Rashid Olakbadi, the chairman of the independent petrol marketers in Kwara State, has this to say on the issue.
All the money being used for subsidy, if the money is not used for subsidy, where is the money going? Because it's not the subsidy money that we are having in this country. The money spent on education, everybody is going to private school. What happened to that? The money spent on the other sector, even health. Today you are going to private hospitals. Where is the money going?
The commercial drivers seeing the worst hit by the fuel scarcity, alleging sales of adulterated PMS at even higher prices. The chairman of the drivers union says this is not the best of times for drivers as they run at a loss.
A lot of people have complained to me that the adulteration has damaged some of our engine. They even plan to go to stay at home, not a strike, stay at home.
While Nigerians groan, the independent oil marketers say harder times may be ahead for the country if subsidy is removed without the federal government settling the arrears owed fuel importers.
My appeal to federal government is the money being whole is infinitesimal compared to the losses we are suffering. The individual, the corporate body, even the government itself. Look at big centers like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Kwara, and others.
With fuel shortage not abating, Nigerians may truly be in for longer queues. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ilorin.
Stories from outside Nigeria next after this break. Don't go away.
Women share the most amazing thoughts on national issues, and they do it passionately.
For most men that are educated, that are exposed, will see nothing to it.
The population and the level of poverty made me cry. No infrastructural development whatsoever. And you tell me Lagos is working?
That was an accident, and it was a one-off thing. Other than that, there has never been any situation in Nigeria where a Nigerian attacked anybody just because of where they came from.
Sharing the adorable word of women in politics every week, only on CoreTV News.
And sports, abandoned World Cup qualifiers will be restarted from the point the clock stopped as part of revised FIFA rules. Players must also produce a valid passport 24 hours before kickoff to reduce eligibility infringements. In 2014, World Cup qualifying groups and ineligible players proved the biggest administrative problem for FIFA. Africa was the only one of FIFA's 6 continental confederations that had problems with federations failing to gain proper clearance for players. 7 African nations, Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea, Ethiopia, Gabon, Liberia, Sudan and Togo fielded players who did not have valid clearance. Manchester United were forced to sign PSV Eindhoven forward Memphis Depay early because of interest from French Ligue 1 leaders Paris Saint-Germain. Old Trafford boss Louis van Gaal said the club wanted to wait until the summer to bring in the 21-year-old Dutch winger. But after announcing a deal in the region of 25 to 30 million pounds, Van Gaal said, "I have been forced to sign him. I have to handle it, otherwise he would have signed for PSG." He added, Depay, who has scored 21 goals as PSV won this season's Dutch title, has signed a contract believed to be until 2019 with the option of another year. He will join in June subject to a medical. West Ham, Everton and Burnley could play next season's Europa League after the Premier League was granted an extra place because of fair play. England finished second in UEFA's fair play table, earning an extra spot in the first qualifying round. That place will go to the team that tops the Premier League's fair play rankings, which is currently Liverpool. The Reds could reach Europe via the league placing to the second, places so the second, third or fifth place teams could join them. West Ham, Everton and Burnley currently occupy those positions respectively in the latest fair play league. Manchester City, who are fourth, also look likely to qualify for Europa via the Champions League. In those standings, points are removed from teams from the number of yellow and red cards they receive, how positively they play, their respect towards opponents and the referee, and how their club staff behave. There are 3 games remaining in the Premier League, with West Ham set to host Everton on the penultimate weekend. As it stands now, the teams that finished 5th and 6th in the Premier League are guaranteed the Europa League spot. But that could drop to 7th if Arsenal win the FA Cup, as they will hand over the Europa League place, having all but reached the Champions League next season. In tennis now, Andy Murray has recovered from his win in the early hours of Thursday to beat Spanish wildcard Marcel Granollers and reach the Madrid Masters last 8. The British number 1, 27-1-6-2-6-0 victory, having started the second round match against Philippe Courchebert after midnight. A very tired Murray said he had to bluff Granollers. If they want to see top players playing the best tennis, don't play at 3 o'clock in the morning, he said. Murray broke the Spaniard in the 4th and 8th games of the opening set before breaking a further 3 times in the second set. The number 2 seed, who won the title in 2008, fought back from 0-40 down on his opponent's serve in the final game to seal victory. He will now face 5th seed Milos Raonic on Friday after the Canadian defeated Argentina's Leonardo Mayer 6-4, 6-3. Former Nigerian track and field star Henry Amike, Tony Osheku and Yusuf Ali have hailed Mike Itemogba and his company Palmados Sports Marketing for putting Nigeria among the list of countries the International Association of Athletics Federations has counted worthy to hosting a world-class road race in 2015. The 10-kilometer Pepe Road race is the brainchild of the Itemogba and his company and was last year granted a bronze label status of the World Athletics governing body. Mike Itemogba has made Nigerians proud. He's done tremendously well on the development of athletics, especially road race, and I believe the government should just take advantage of the leverage he's brought into the sport to move it further, Amike said. Oshego said Itemogba deserves to be recognized by the government for helping to develop the youth. Since 2008, when IAAF started labeling road races, I can't remember a road race that has been so recognized in West Africa, he says. Outside Nigeria now, British Prime Minister David Cameron's Conservative Party looks set to continue in power with projections and seats already announced, giving his party a majority. The results seem to confirm a shock exit poll projection published by British broadcasters late on Thursday night that put the party way ahead of the opposition Labour Party with 316 seats. Updated projections, however, put the Conservatives on 329, an absolute majority. The poll also predicted Labour winning 239 seats, the Scottish National Party winning 58, and the Liberal Democrats winning 10. Speaking after successfully defending a seat in Whitney, Cameron said his Conservative Party's policies in the last government had been vindicated by the result. This has been a very strong night for the Conservative Party, the Prime Minister said. Some people say there's only one opinion poll that counts, and that's the one on election day. And I don't think that's ever been truer than tonight, he added. A Pakistani military helicopter has crashed carrying foreign diplomats in the mountainous region of Gilgit-Baltistan. The dead included 2 ambassadors, 2 wives of ambassadors, and the helicopter's 2 Pakistani pilots. The dead include Norwegian Ambassador Leif Lassen, Philippines Ambassador Domingo Lucenaro Jr., and the wives of the Malaysian and Indonesian ambassadors to Pakistan. Dutch Ambassador Marcel de Vink and Polish Ambassador André Avenid were injured in the crash. The Mi-17 helicopter was carrying 17 people, including 11 foreigners, the military spokesman Major General Asim Bajwa said in an earlier statement. The 13 survivors had varying degrees of injuries. The injured are being treated at the Combined Military Hospital at Jutal, about 30 kilometers away from the area in which the crash occurred. The aircraft crashed in the Nauta Valley area of Gilgit-Baltistan, about 300 kilometers north of the capital, Islamabad. And that wraps it this hour on CoreTV News. Do join us again at the top of the hour for more. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for being there.